Okay, ma'am, कर लीजिए.
Okay, thank you. So today we are going to start with the two novels, the prominent two novels that is prescribed in your course, that is MEG13, writings from the margins, right? So yesterday we were talking about the Dalit literature. We covered the history and culture of the Dalits and the connotations with the history, with the Manusmriti, and even we talked about their oppression and the atrocities that are committed on them since centuries, and how the religion and on the other hand the society, the Varna system, there are a lot of aspects, right, that actually directly or indirectly that affects their life, right? So today we are going to talk about two major novels. First is Changyaruk Against the Night by Balbir Madhapuria, and second is Sangati by Bama, right? So first thing, that the very similar connotation between these two novels are these both are the autobiographical novels, right? Though the module says that autobiographical novels, autobiographical writing plus fiction, because in some of the writings of in all the writings or in some writings of autobiographical accounts, there will be some elements of imagination. Definitely it will crop up, right? An author tries to express his or her emotion with the help of imagination, and he try to elevate or sometimes uh, express in a larger sense, in a broader way. So this was the reason. So the autobiographical writing is not solely limited to the personal accounts or personal experiences or personal recordings or personal recording of the history, but on the other hand it also acts as a fictional writing as well, because it does have some fiction in it. So it is autobiographical writing plus fiction. So same goes with Balbir Madhupuria and Bama. And the second thing that is very important, that they both share the same experience. They both are Dalits, right? They both belong to the caste who are regarded to be the lower or lowest in the Hindu society. And on the other hand, both the writers, uh, they belong to the lowest castes, the lowest of the lowest. What we were talking yesterday about the Ati Shudras, right? So they were not the Shudras, they belong to the Ati Shudras, and that is termed to be the untouchable of that period, right? So they were the untouchables that period. But on the other hand, gradually after the independence and with the advent of education and literacy in the India, literacy in the Hindu society especially, these classes, they got education and they enlightened themselves. And on the other hand, there are a lot of people. Yesterday we talk about Mahatma Gandhi's contribution of uniting the India and for the upliftment of these classes. And on the other hand, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, and even I mentioned Dalit Panther, right? That how Dalit literature cropped up to make people aware about their existence and experiences. So same way, these two authors, they are literate people, they are educated. For example, Balbir Madhapuria, he is actually a writer, poet, translator. Same goes with Baba, right? So she is also writing about the Dalit woman concerns, that how it is different from the Dalit man's concern, how it is different from the mainstream feminist, right? So we touched a few points, but on the other hand, we'll try to evaluate what we have read yesterday under the lenses of these two fictional works, these two autobiographical fictional works or autobiographical accounts of the two authors, because they have the first hand experience of it. Because in the next module we will be talking about the writings from the other sources, right? For the example, somebody a Brahmin discourse, right? You are Ananthamurthy Samaskara, he is talking about the Brahmin point of view and how they perceive the lower caste, how they perceive the untouchables, right? But on the other hand, here you got to know how they are treated, right? Because it is their first hand experience, and it starts from the very first birth of their life, right? The time they are born, they will be discriminated, they will be humiliated, they will be insulted, right? And the series goes on and on as they acquire education, even they are well placed, even they are writing. So it is a form of their expression, their way of articulation, that they cannot express their dissent in the world openly, and they cannot express their dissent in the masses. So in order to make people aware of it, in order to express the voice of dissent, in order to express their resistance, they are writing in their autobiographical account their own experiences, that how they are treated, how they are humiliated, how much discrimination they face, right? Even in the literate India, even in the democratic India, we are talking about the citizens, right? The educated citizens, and how they were discriminated even after the education and even after the economic independence, right? So I'm starting first with the Balbir Madhopuriya. Balbir Madhopuriya, Changyaruk Against Night, right? So this is the title of your novel, that is Changyaruk Against the Night. So Changyaruk is basically a Punjabi term, right? So he's the Punjabi title. And Balbir Madhopuriya. So let me cast a few, few points about the Balbir Madhopuriya, and then I'll talk about the Changyaruk. So Balbir Madhopuriya was born in 1955 in a small village, Madhopur. So he was actually a inhabitant of a small village that is in the Jalandhar. So Jalandhar still has a lot of Dalit population, right? It is actually famous. So all the Doaba, it was actually famous for the abode of, it is said to be the abode of the Dalits, right? So as a child and adolescent, right, he in the from the very first start, he was actually working as an agricultural laborer. He was actually working as already as a bonded labor, but on the other hand, then he got to the school, and then he got education, and he employed himself in a different ways, and this is how he is able to attain the voice of expression, right? Otherwise he will be snubbed, he will be shunned somewhere, right? So it is just because of the education that he is able to talk about his rights, he is able to talk about his experiences, so with the help of education. So the title Changyaruk is a Punjabi term. Ruk means tree, and Changya means something which is dwarfed or slashed, right? So he's talking about a slashed tree, a tree who is slashed from the top. So in a way, he's personifying himself to the tree, right? He's talking about a tree who is actually slashed from the top, who is dwarfed from the top. The same way he said, I am feeling in the society, I'm feeling the same way as a tree who is cut from the mainstream, who is slashed from the society, even the top of it, even with education and a minimum amount in the hand, even with the resourceful means he has, but still he feels like he's cut from the society, because every time and now he will be humiliated, insulted. He feels that he is discriminated to a certain extent just because he belongs to a lower caste, right? A caste which is said to be the leather tainers, right? So basically he belongs to a caste who is actually the leather tainers, right? So because they deal with the dead bodies of the animals, right? When an animal is dead, they used to cut their skin, and they have different kind of leather products, and they deal with the leather, basically the tannery of the leathers. So this was the reason, because they deal with the dead bodies, as I have said yesterday, the metaphor of purity and pollution, because they deal with the dead, they deal with the dead bodies of the dead, that this is the reason they are said to be the untouchable, right? So this was the reason, because of the pollution they have the bodily pollution. So this was the reason it is said to be that they belong to the untouchables and untouchable. So as an adolescent, and even as a child, right, he worked as a labor, but on the other hand, he got the education, and probably he actually went to even climb the upper stair, but even after climbing the upper stair, he still be discriminated, he still faced humiliation, and he feel that the same thing by living in the region in the Punjab, right? So in this way, he is also talking about the society of the Punjab, and even he is actually casting a lot of light he's actually putting a lot of light, shedding a lot of light on the politics and administration of the Punjab as well, right? So he was talking about a very one day experience in his book, that how his bua's son is working as a civil servant, and how other people are working in a powerful positions because they are in the different state, right? And here he cannot have that much access to the resources, but still he thinks about it, that do I have to live like that for whole of my life as a liberal, when he was actually working in the fields as a child? So he was actually thinking about his own identity, trying to curate the own identity, but because he is bonded by the caste, and because of the caste barriers, he has a very less resources in the hand. So the question of the identity crisis crops up again and again, right? And so a Changyaruk means that tree. So he is actually personifying himself as a slashed tree, a cut tree, definitely, because he belongs to a Dalit identity, he belongs to a caste who is said to be the lower and untouchable, and this is the reason. And the second part, which is also a distinct term, against the night, right? So against the night is also a very interesting term. So why he is actually using the term night? Because against the night, he is talking about all the odds, all the torments, all the tortures that he has faced. That it is like a power, he is raising a power, a voice of resistance, right? He's talking about his own strength. He's talking about his own power, that he has to fight all the odds, right, against the night. He has to fight against the night in order to embrace the dawn, in order to see the ray of hope, in order to embrace the ray of hope from the day, as the new day comes with the new hope, right? So the title is very much important, right? Changyaruk. So the title, Changyaruk and Against the Night. So it helps in the conveying of the helplessness, that how he's cut from the society. He's totally a peripheral individual. His voice is marginalized. Nobody is going to listen about his experiences. Nobody is willing to help him or his family, and how they are living in deprivation, poverty, and they are pushed to the peripheries. But on the other hand, with his power, with his the voice of resistance, though he is helpless, but he is going to fight with the night. He is going to fight against the night, and he is going to fight for the day, right, to have the ray of hope, right? I hope the title is clear.
Yes, ma'am.
Right? So Changya Rukh is actually a Punjabi term. Rukh is actually tree in Punjabi, and Changya means that is something slashed and cut from the top, right? I hope the title is clear now. Right, even in the even in his autobiography, right, he himself is you could say representing himself like a dwarf tree. Many times he's talking about that, how he's cut from the top, how he's living in the society, he's living in the mainstream society, he's living with the jaildars, he's living with the numberdars, he's living with the jats, who are going to be who belong to the upper caste in the Punjab region, right? So there you don't have much population of Brahmins, because the Brahmins population you can easily find in the regions like Madhya Pradesh, UP, Bihar. So he said that on the other hand, Punjab, Haryana is most popularly dominated by Jats, right? So Jats are the upper caste people. So he said that I am living in the society where there are said to be the upper caste people. I am roaming in a society, a mainstream society, after roaming in the democratic India, but still he is not able to get the identity of a full-fledged human being. Here is also treated as a second-class citizen, right? Then we'll move on to that the caste system of India, right? I have already told you that yesterday we were talking about the caste system, the four Varna system, and uh, because of his novel, we get to know the caste system that is also inherited in the Punjab, right? So even today, this is the reason that because of the caste system, there are new religions crop up, right? I mentioned yesterday about Jainism, Buddhism, or other Sikhism, right? So same way, even this is also a very prominent and common feature these two authors share, because Balbir Madhapuria also belongs. Then he created Adi Dharma, right? We'll end the lecture like that, when we what is actually a way forward, how he developed his identity. So it is actually Adi Dharma. So basically Sikhism. On the other hand, our second author, that is Bama, we will talk about later in the next are, right? So there we got to know that she is also a Christian, right? So you could see that how much dissatisfied they are with the Hindu religion, right? Because Hindu religion was giving them nothing but humiliation, right? Hindu religion was nothing them but only has treated them just as object, right? So they don't have any choice just to leave the religion, to reject the religion, to reject these shackles. And this is the reason they embrace the different religions. And on the other hand, this is the reason that these new religions like Sikhism, these new religions like Christianity, right, in the Hindu civil order, in the Hindu society, these religions came and take their place, right? And then we are talking about the caste system, right? So caste system, as I told you, the whole novel talks about the caste system in India. Basically, he was actually working in the India, right? So he's talking about the caste system in India, that though there are, the Constitution of India is giving them so many rights. They are actually termed to be the SC, that is scheduled caste and scheduled tribes, and promising reservation and promising about the constitutional rights they have. But still he believes that, so even after the the affirmation of a lot of rights and the reservation, still they are treated to be, the an ordinary man who is deprived of his identity, right? So he's talking about the abuse he has in the early days. So he's talking about the, even he said that even our constitution abolished the untouchability, but there are still some incidents that he mentioned in his book that he suffered from the untouchability, right? So he was actually talking about that how the prominent upper classes, they really don't want him to drink from their wells. He really don't want him to use the temples or the gurdwaras. They don't even they have the different crematoriums, right? So he's talking about that how even the abolition of the untouchability, but the mindset is still there, right? So he's talking about the caste hierarchy and the history of the Punjab, that though the untouchability was a crime, but there were still some regions, right, where it is still performed, right? So even as I told you yesterday as well, right? So we were talking about the casteism, right? So we were talking about this touch and impurity, that how a metaphor of touch is used, right? So if somebody touches you, you become impure, right? You become something, right? So someone who is not pure, right? So the touch is still there. So even we can quote the simple examples that we used to have different utensils for our kambalis, right? So such kind of things are still there, though we are bragging that this is totally a crime, but we do it on the daily basis, right? We don't want our house helps or mates to use the same glass as we are eating and drinking, right? I hope this is clear, and you will also agree with me, Shushmita. What's your point on that? I guess there is some problem with the connection of the student. Shushmita, I hope your connection is stable now. I hope your connection is stable, Shushmita.
Sorry, ma'am, there is some connection problem.
Okay,
Just
okay,
give
okay,
me a second.
okay.
Uh, yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we will be talking about the social exclusion, right? That how even after, even after the constitutional rights, even the, the promises of the ideal land, right? They face discrimination, right? Because of the untouchability somewhere prevailing in the India. So what's your point on that? Do you believe that untouchability is totally it is totally eradicated from the society? At the same time, we are living in the society where where we have the separate utensils for our house helps and even for the maids, right? So what's your take on that? I would like to know about it.
Ma'am, because of some laws that the court or the government has imposed, the untouchability is a little less in metropolitan cities or even in our towns. But if you look at the villages, we can't say that is it is proper untouchability. But yes, we can clearly see the people discriminating, the upper caste people discriminating towards discrimination towards the lower caste people. So yes, if we say, I don't know about the whole India, maybe there are some backward areas where the untouchability is still prevalent, but in my area, or where I look, or I have approached to, so it is not in that form that it used to be in the ancient times, like at that much level. But yes, there is the discrimination definitely exists even at that time.
Oh, yeah. True, even you were talking about the metro cities, even in the urban cities. So the same example that I was, quoting earlier, right? We don't give the same utensils to our house helps and the maids, right? We have the separate, cups. We have the separate plates from them, right? So we know it very well one way or another. So it is like an direct or indirect way of, expressing our contempt, because we know it, right? So nobody from the upper caste comes to our house for a house help, right? So these people are definitely from these depressed classes, right? The
Yes.
people, those who are not, they are not economically independent of, having the access to the mainstream society. So this is the reason they are, they are coming to the domestic space to earn some money, to earn a livelihood. So it is also a way of expressing our contempt like that, right? Because we still have the separate classes, right? Even the anybody, right? Anybody from the, you could say, the neighborhood, the localities, services, right? Be it as a, you could say, as a washerman, or even the kuda wala, right? If even if it comes, right? So we do not want to have a direct contact with them, right? So somewhere and somehow we try to avoid the direct contact, right? So I hope this is the reason. Even in the metro cities, they said that you put it outside, right? You put it
Yes.
outside, we'll give you
Yes.
at this time, right? Come at this time, only this time I'm available, right? Come at once on this date, just to have your money collected from me, right? So this is our just a way, directly and indirectly, our way of asserting the untouchability on them, right? So I hope you will, like, agree with me,
Yes, ma'am. It all happened.
right? So we were
Yes.
talking about such kind of, so the same way, right? Even if you read any text, this is the reason that even after the 75 years of independence, that, right, in your diploma course, such text exist, because such things exist somewhere, somewhere or another, in a different ways, right? So the same
Yes.
way he's talking about his the untouchability experiences in 1955, he was born, so he must have read the book around 70 or 71, 75. So the India, which is actually 20, 25 year back, he was talking about that after the 20 years of independence. But the same thing, the things are still there, right? So this, the mindset is still there, those experiences, those incidents are still very much there in the social fabric of India, right?
Yes,
So,
ma'am.
and even when we talking about the independence, right? So there was a fact, right? So because of the social fabric, right? The social fabric, and people have the, because of the Hindu population, and because of the Hindu population, and because of this caste and varna system, this was the reason that when we were talking about the independence, right? So there were three people who demanded three different region. They demanded three different countries, right? First was the Muhammad Ali Jinnah, right? He demanded Pakistan for the
Pakistan.
interests of the Muslims, right? So he said that we Hindus, right? So we Muslims, we don't feel secure in the Hindu countries, right? So this was the reason he demanded a different country for the Muslims. And on the other hand, second person was definitely Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, right? So Dr. B.R. Ambedkar also made the demand of a different country for the untouchables, right? See, he demanded a different country for the SC/STs, and for the fourth Varna, right? So he said that there will be no time come, then they will be treated and they will be rise up to the first Varna, because I have already told you, right, the reasons behind that. Because caste or Varna system, it is by birth imposed on the person, and there is no mobility in the caste system, right? A person from the lower caste cannot be risen up or risen above to first Varna, right? So this was the reason Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, he demanded for the separate country for the Dalits, right? For the separate country for the untouchables and the people who belonging to the lower caste. And there is one more person, that is Master Tara Singh. Master Tara Singh demanded a different country for the Sikhs, right? He believed that we Sikhs, we don't feel secured under the in a Hindu country, in a Hindu religion ridden country, where there are so many caste and distinctions. But on the other hand, Sikhism, when it started, it propagates the oneness in the human being. So he said that because of these are distinctions, there are bases of caste and creed. So he himself also demanded a different country for the six, right? So there were the different kind of, you could say, voices of opposition that that raised during the independence era. But on the other hand, Muhammad Ali Jinnah got his demand fulfilled, and he got Pakistan. But on the other hand, reservation, or you could say the special rights, were given to Dalits on this basis only, and they convinced Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar somehow. And even Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar himself gave the theory of the reservation, and how these castes should be listed as scheduled caste, and how these tribes should be listed as scheduled tribe, and their upliftment will be done for the 20 or 30 years, right? So there was a promise of the upliftment of these castes by the reservation, right? So they believe that by representing them in the mainstream, by giving them the rights of representation, by giving them the merit, the education, the other facilities, they will be risen up in the society and they will become one, right? So for example, if a person who is actually born in an ati shudra, or who is even born as a shudra, if he has education, if he has employment in his hand, and he is liable to become a professor, he is liable to become a leader, he is liable to become a administrator, so he can rise up to any of the, even he's liable to, even he can be a businessman, even he can be a trader, he can deal in the banks or in the commerce, right? But the grim reality and the bleak reality is this, that we still even after using the caste certificate, even after using that seat, we still term that person as someone and someone from this, or someone and someone from that. So the idea of social justice has lost, the 10, 20 or 25 years ago. So the same way he's talking about, Balbir Madhapuria is also talking about his own experiences, that people are saying that untouchability is abolished from the constitution, right? So there is no provision of untouchability, right? That is actually mentioned in the constitution. It is totally a crime, right, if anybody indulges in any act of untouchability. But still it is very much there, it is very much prevalent in the social fabric of India, and especially he's talking about the Punjab, right? So their nambardars, jaildars, the jats, right, the people who are the landowners, right? So we're talking about the North India, so there are these jats. But on the other hand, when we are talking about the South India, so there are these shetties, right, the land owning castes, right? So they, the people who has land, right, so they treat the lower caste people as the bonded laborers, and they don't want to share the power dynamics, they don't want them to rise up and stay with them, and they have the equal say in the system, right? So these are the caste and power dynamics attached with the untouchability, right? And the same way, right, the Balbir Madhapuria is also talking about the outward life. So he said that it is very much, if it is very much prevalent in the outward lives, right, so that he is still be treated, humiliated and shunned from the society. So you can see about what kind of a mentality they still have after the independence, what kind of mentality they still have, having this thing in the mind that it is a crime, right? So he's talking about the rural India, the social reality of the rural India, that how these castes are still socially excluded, right? So even in the rural areas, they have the different, you could say, there are different areas. Even in the, you could say, even in the urban areas, people have different mohallas, different different areas, right? So different localities are there, right? So even people go for the rent. So first of all, people will ask about their religion, people will ask about their caste sometimes, right? If you go to have a room on the rents, right? So such kind of things are still very much there, right? So this was the reason that these two texts are very commonly used and quoted somewhere, right? Because the tendencies that are mentioned, right, the individuals, those who suffered from it, and so it is not a story or saga of an individual, but it is still very much prevalent, you could say, reality of the whole of the India, right? So most of the people who actually have a lot of population in the India, right? So he's talking about the social exclusion, that how such kind of a outward lives they are living. So it is a very common thing that if a person is living such kind of a physical life, such kind of an outward life, what kind of a mental health the person would be having, right? So what is your take on that? If a person will be constantly humiliating, he will be constantly aware of his or her caste, he will be constantly labeled as, you are this, you belong to this, you are this, you should this, you should do this, you should do that, right? You should not do this, you should not do that, you are not liable to sit with us, to have a say with us. So what kind of a mental health that person will be having? So what's your take on it, Shushmita?
Ma'am, definitely the mental health will be affected by this, and for him or her, it will be a natural thing that whoever belongs to the upper caste, uh, or the caste that is harming them mentally or physically or in whatever way. uh, even even if we met someone who doesn't believe in the discrimination and belongs to a upper caste, he will not be able to believe him, or trust him, or believe that that someone from the upper caste would be good, and try to you know remove the discrimination. So yes, the mental health would be very affected. He will be full of rage because of his or her experiences. So yeah, the mental health would be very bad for that person. And I
And
think
definitely the idea of
he
identity, right? He will definitely
all
have.
he in every situation he will feel like a victim.
Okay, yes, that's a very good point, right? So he will be victimized by the society, right? So he will be dehumanized. The right word would be dehumanized, right? They don't consider him as even a human, right? So dehumanized, their dehumanization are like the blacks, suffered at the hands of the white, right? So same thing. There was a race, and there we have the caste, right? So we were talking about the mental health, and even in the novel, when you read the novel, he was quoting few of the incidents. So I'm just quoting few of the incidents, that how he was talking about his youth. So it was a autobiographical account, so he was talking about different phases of his life, right? So he's talking about even as a youth. He said that when he was an adolescent, and he was actually going to school, and there came the announcement of the summer vacations, and summer vacations are very enjoyable and pleasurable site for the kids, right? So on the other hand, even the thinking of summer vacation is very much it is a kind of a harrowing experience for him, because he doesn't have to rest, he doesn't have to enjoy, he doesn't have to get the pleasure, but on the other hand, he is liable to work in a field, right? So he was just quoting few things, that he said that he has to come across a lot of daily chores, right? He has to do a lot of daily chores in his in his in his holidays, right? So he was carrying the buckets of the garbage to the he was collecting the dry leaves, sometimes the sugarcane skins, right? Sometimes the fires, right? Taking lassi and tea for the father and the mother who are actually working in the field. So he has to do a lot of work even as a child. And then he has to do the feeding of the animals, right? Who are the feeding of the animals of the upper caste people, right? So he has to do something, right? He has to do, and he has to do some work in order to earn money for the fees and for the other things, right? So even as a kid, right, he's not going to have a very good pleasurable life, and even a very enjoyable summer vacation. But on the other hand, he said that for the other people, for the mainstream children, for the people who belong to the upper caste, it is going to have an enjoyable experiences for the kids. But on the other hand, ultimately for him, it is also a kind of a horrific events he has to witness. On the other hand, he was also talking about his fears and aspirations, right? That how he was talking about that how even he walks to the field, right? There will be the people, there will be the upper caste people, specifically the jats were sitting there, they throw mud at him, right? Just to mock at him, just to ridicule him, right? And sometimes they abuse they usually abuse him, and sometimes beats him and slaps him like that, right? So it is a kind of a harrowing experiences for him, right? So if what he actually have in his holidays, right? So he's talking about how the dalits they have suffered from oppression and humiliation from the upper caste jats, because as I've already told you, the Punjab and Haryana is definitely the jat dominated uh, you could say the regions of the India, right? So he tells about that if a lower caste boy were about to come on the lanes of the village, all are bathed and dressed in the new clothes, right? He's talking about the general children, right? So they are all about in the new clothes, their hair are combed. And on the other hand, if somebody from the Jat community, right, if somebody from the upper caste community, he's sitting under the tree, he throws a mud on it, right? He throws a mud on it, he slaps them, sometimes tore his clothes, right? So this is a kind of a common experiences he used to have as a child, right? So as I was talking about the mental health, we are talking about the harrowing experiences he has endured in his childhood, right? So this is definitely going to be very much disturbing for an individual. And if he has suffered this much, such and what will be his future, and what will be his personality would be like in the in the coming years. And on the other hand, the prejudice, if jats have, or you could say upper caste people have built prejudice against that person, right? They have their own prejudices because they feel that they belong to the low caste, right? But on the other hand, such person will be aware more and more of his oppression, right? This person will be become more and more aware of his humiliation, right? And on the other hand, ultimately, because of these incidents, because of these incidents that he experienced in the prime age of his life, right? Childhood and the youth, right? Which is going to be the, ultimately the prime age for the, construction and building of a personality. So, right, he's definitely going to build a kind of a prejudice for the upper caste people as well, right? So it is not about the upper caste people prejudiced mind. So same way, the lower caste people will also, have a kind of a prejudiced mind for the upper caste people. So even if he move out in the city, he is definitely going to give people a benefit of doubt, right? So he will not be so much open about the idea. He will be not so much open about the thing. So this is the reason that, right, so people will try to change their names, right? So when they move out, this is a very common tendency uh, in the lower classes, right, in the Dalit identity, where they change their name, where they change their identity, where they change their surname, or they form a kind of a group when they move out, and they try to indulge in the group activities because of these kind of a harrowing experiences that they suffered in the in their prime, period of their life, for example in the youth and adolescent, right? So this was the reason he's talking about the untouchability and even his own prejudices, right? So he's talking about, so such kind of incident, he was said that one or some incident would occur one day or another day. It is a very common incident for him during the summer breaks, right? And then he was talking about the state hierarchy and the exploitation, right, in the novel. Then he's talking about that how the state authorities are actually misusing and taking full advantage of the caste system, right? Because state, and we will be talking about the state, the modern form of government, because ultimately it is actually a legacy of the colonial rule, right? Even now the governments are no better than the, are the torch bearer of the democracies, right? So he said that even now he's talking about the his experiences in the youth. Then whenever there is a bad thing happen, whenever there is a crime, right, whenever there is a report of a crime, a crime was reported in the village, so ultimately who will be held responsible for these kind of crimes, who will be held responsible for such kind of happenings? These lower caste people. He said that even if a jaildar, even if a nambardar, even if a jat, he commits a murder, right? He commits a murder, he robs a house, two brothers are, quarreling with each other, they beat each other, they create a scene, right, on the name of land. No police officer, no, no administrator or no leader will take an action against it. But on the other hand, if there is some kind of a theft in somebody's house, so people from these lower castes will be picked up as a criminal, right? So wholly and solely they put all the blames on them, right? So because it is going to be an easy way out for the state as well, right? So it's how the state is also taking full advantage of the caste system, and they are further even deepening the exploitation. So he's saying even the caste sorry, even the state, even the government, they are not even helping them, but on the other hand they are taking full advantage of the caste system, right? He narrates such kind of incidents, right, to the meted out to the Dalits by the state operations, right? That how all the villagers are afraid, those people who are belonging to the lower caste, they are afraid of jaildars, jagirdars, they are afraid of numberdars, right? So these are the people, as I told you, these are the land owning communities, right? How much land a person has, then is going to be jagir. If he is going to have a jagir, if he is going to have this much acre land, according to that much acre land, he is going to get, have a title. For example, we have a Shettis in the South India, right? So same way in the Punjab, right? So such kind of a terms like jagirdar, nambardar, and the jaildar, they are used to have have for this jats community, right? Because of the land owning communities they have, right? So he said that if a jat has many villages, a jaildar has many villages under him, and he presided over the coast, and on the other hand, who is going to be the sarpanch, who is going to be ultimate judge, who will be the punches in this panchayat, who will be the sarpanch in the panchayat in a village, right? So ultimately these upper caste people, and these upper caste people never ever term their fellow beings, for example the people who belongs to the same caste, as criminals, right? So in order to get rid of the charges, in order to show mercy on their own people, what they do is they criminalize these kind of people, right? They deliberately put the blame on the lower caste people, right? They deliberately put them behind the bar, that these are the people, they are low classes, they are low caste, yes, they can commit crime, they can commit crime for money, they can commit crime because it is in their blood, they belong to the impurity. So such are the kind of a baseless and biased, you could say, judgments are passed on them, right? So he enjoyed, on the other hand, Jagirdar, Jaildars, they enjoyed certain powers, they enjoyed certain perks, right? So he was talking about that how even the judgment, the administration, the state is also biased towards the Dalits, right? Even the whole system of the government, right? The whole system of the state is also biased towards the Dalits, right? So he's talking about that how they are compelled to beg for their own rights, how they are compelled to beg for the mercy. Sometimes how they are, they cannot say no. If anybody asks for them to come and do their work, even in their place, even in their field, so he said that we cannot say no to them, right? Because saying no to them means that we are actually raising our voice of resistance. So he said that such kind of incidents were not allowed in the rural area. We have to be available all the time at the mercy and at the command of them, right? So such kind of such kind of incidents are actually talking about not even the untouchability, and how talking about the criminalizing of these castes, right? That the same way that how these caste, how these tribes are termed to be the criminals, how these Christ and tribes are termed to be the thieves, robbers, and on the other hand, first of all, even they term them even as criminals and robbers, but on the other hand, they are also forced to become a laborers as well, right? So they are on one hand they are criminals, and on the other hand they are forced labor. So it all depends on the interests of the upper caste people, and it all depends on the interests of the state and state or the modern form of government, or it depends all on the interest of the, you could say, the land owning communities, right? So ultimately it is going to be a struggle between a labor and the landowner, right? So landowner, because he has access to the power, because he has access to the more and more means resources, and he can have a larger say in the society. He can exploit, humiliate, or even criminalize a person who doesn't have a say in the system, right? So he's talking about such kind of a state hierarchy and exploitation that they face, that even not even the caste, even such things, even such caste hierarchies, it further them to push them to more and more bonded labor, right? I hope this much is clear. I hope
Yes,
this
ma'am.
is clear, Sushmita. So the next thing we will be talking about, we have talked about the caste, then we have talked about the the you could say the domain of the state, and the modern state with the democratic state, right? But on the other hand, the major problem that people feel that with the he's talking about in his novel, that is about the religion, right? So it is a very common thing that the lower caste people, they have a major problem with the Hinduism, right? With Hinduism, I would say the Hindu religion, right? Sorry for the Hinduism term, right? So it is all about the Hindu religion, right? So they basically have a problem with the Hindu religion. So do you justify this problem, and what's your take on that, Shushmita? What do you feel that these people, they should have a problem with the Hindu law, Hindu society, or Hindu order, on yes or no? What's your take on that?
Ma'am, can you please repeat?
uh, as I have discussed that how untouchability was still prevalent there, right? So we have talked about the constitutional part. On the other hand, then we moved to the state, right? That, and the third thing, even yesterday we were talking about the Hindu law, right? The Hindu society, Hindu caste-ridden society, Hindu varna-ridden society. So here, even Balbir Madhapuria in his novel, right, he raised his voice against the Hindu law, Hindu religion, right? He doesn't believe in the Hindu religion, Hindu order, right? So I'm asking you that is his claim is justified, or do you believe that this is wrong? And what's your take on that, right?
Ma'am,
We have a problem with the
what
Hindu religion.
what exactly do you mean by Hindu religion? Are you asking about the upper caste?
Yes, I'm asking about the construction of the Hindu system, right? The Hindu
Okay, so the
religion,
Varna system. The Varna system.
the Varna system that is created, I mean, actually the formation of the god, right? Because according to the god, the Brahma, the Brahmin, the Holy Trinity, whoever created the universe, and then they created the hierarchies, they created nature and
Yes.
everything. But on the other hand, the Dalits, basically we are talking about the Dalits, they have a major problem with the Hindu theory of the construction of the world, universe, and society, right? They have a problem with it. So do you justify their problem? Do you justify their voice of resistance or not?
Ma'am, if we talk about the Hindu religion, if we talk about the mythologies that we have in Hindu religion, Even in our mythologies, the very great characters, the very great stories that also involved stories that show discrimination towards the Shudras.
Yes.
We have recently seen a controversy related to it, where a very good teacher, the name of a very good teacher came into the name of a very good teacher came into the controversy, because he quoted something, an incident from Ramayana. uh, well, I don't know about the right or wrong about that story, but the story was about a Shudra, and a great king of India. So if we see, even from the ancient times, the discrimination is prevalent. And yes, the Hindu system, if we look at the Varna system, it does promote the discrimination. And but some people even say that it was not constructed as such, that if a father is a Brahmin, then the son will be Brahmin. Some people say that it is based on the basis of work that a child choose. But that is not so, as we see in a society. So yes, I believe that yes, Hindu religion definitely promotes discrimination. And it has increased the gap between the upper caste and the lower caste.
Okay, good, good. So the same idea I would like to share with you, right? So the Balbir Bahadur in his autobiographical account, he was talking about even the religion, right? The particular part of religion. So first of all, they denounced the religion because when they are living in the Indian society, which is totally a Hindu society, so it is like becoming an atheist, right? Because the only religion that is practiced in the India, that was the Hindu religion, right? And the basic problem, even Dr. B.R. Ambedkar quoted that the basic problem of caste system is that people believe that caste system is ordained by the god, right? They do not admit that, they don't want to have the theory, they don't want to construct it, they don't want to admit it, that it is actually by the selfish interest of the, you could say, selfish interest of the powerful, right? So he said that the same way, Balbir Madhapuria is also quoting that no one has the time to listen to our plea, right? So this is exactly what I'm quoting, right, from his autobiographical account, where he's talking to his narrator's father was talking to him, and he was saying nobody has the time to listen to our plea that caste system was not ordained by God, but has been made by man for his selfish motives, right? So yeah, this was the reason he's talking about religion. So he used to have such kind of a conversations with his father, and he listened such kind of a conversations when his father was actually having, in the rural India, in the village of Madhopur. So he's talking about that people are not listening to him and simply treating him and putting these stereotypical images on them just on the basis of caste system, and they believe that it is actually a system that is ridden by, that is created by, that is constructed by the god, right? So this is the reason even Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, he has the problem with it, that this was the reason yesterday we discussed, if you remember, Shushmita, that why Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, he denounced and outrightly rejected the term Harijan,
Yes, ma'am.
right? Because he
Yes.
believes that Hari, he said that if a Hari believes that such kind of a people will be created from the feet, and such people will be created from the head, the hierarchy, the discrimination between the head to toe, is there in the mind of a god, in the mind of somebody who is supreme, who is divine, or the Hari, right? So he said that we really don't want to term to be his kids. The same way he's talking about that the main problem with the caste system is that people actually have the religious connotations with it, right? Even yesterday we was talking about the Devadasi tradition, right? The prostitution, right? The village prostitution, it was actually under the guise of a religion, right? People are not admitting that she is a prostitute. People believe that she is married to a god, right? She will be the wife of a god, right? So wife of a god, or it can be a wife of a priest, it can be a wife of a upper caste men. So the upper caste men, priestly duties, and god, so these overlapping of the three things, right? God, priest, and the upper caste, so ultimately they are quoting their own supremacy over the lower classes, right? So their idea of the god is they themselves itself, right? So they feel that their god is like that because they feel that we are the god, we are the superior, right? The god created them like that because we feel that they should be created like that in order to assert the supremacy and power over them, right? So the same way Balbir Madhapurya is talking about, right? So he said that I don't believe in the concept of the God. He even said that God is a complete fraud, right? So he has listened such kind of a conversation. He said that the God is a complete fraud for us, right? Because it is all about the construction of a man. He doesn't believe that God can be so malefic, right? God can be so much malevolent that he created somebody as a lower and he created somebody as an superior. So he said that the whole construction of the God is a fraud, and it will be at the just to the hands of the upper caste people, just to assert supremacy and power and control over the lower caste, right? So he said that, so we really don't want to, we are better off the oppressor. He said that if God pronounces this kind of a justice, that we will ever, we will be forever become the lower caste, we will be forever become the kind of a, even the caste Balbir Madhapurya belongs to, even we cannot say that caste openly now, right? Because it is actually it is an offense now, right? We cannot call the names. So look at it, the people were actually calling them, they were humiliating them by their caste, right? So if a person, yesterday we were talking about the chapari, soon you will see that chapari will also come to know under the, under an offense, the constitution, where people will be aware of the connotation, that where that word come from. So there are such derogatory terms that are actually banned by our constitution and even banned by our Supreme Court. So the same caste that Balbir Madhapurya belonged to, that we can even not pronounce. I just said that he is from a caste, right? The leather tainers, right? But I cannot pronounce the caste because it will be complete and offense, right? It's a crime to call these people or to even use that words in front of them. So it is like a kind of a humiliating experience for them if they keep on having and remembering that this is your existence, this is what your identity, and you cannot change it, right? So on the other hand, people then have the card of the religion. You cannot change it because it is in your destiny, and your destiny is created by the God, right? You are like this because of your past karmas. And if you will work hard, if you will, if you will serve your superiors, if you show politeness and servitude, in the next birth, in the next janma, you will become a Brahmin, right? So such kind of a construction of a destiny, the past life, misdeeds of the past karmas, and the next life, the very much construction of the religion, right? The how these things under the construction of a religion is laid on a man, right? And laid on a lower caste man is itself a kind of a, you could say, it is actually a kind of a mental wrong, right? A mental wrong we are committing on the minds of the lower caste people, right? I hope you agree with me. What's your take on that? Your voice is not audible, Sushmita. Your voice is not audible, Sushmita. Yes, yes, you can. Yes, I'm here listening. Still, you are not audible. I guess there is some, wrong with your connection, right? There might be a technical glitch in your connection, right? Let me continue, right? When I'll conclude it, then I would like to have your say in the whole discussion, right? And then in the Balbir Madhapurya's novel, he was talking about few things. We are talking about his childhood, then we are talking about his youth, right? And then he is talking about, his father. Okay, there is a network issue. No problem, Shushmita. And then even he was talking about the construction of religion, right? And then we are talking about the construction of the religion, their identity with the name itself, right? Even yesterday we were talking about the naming ceremony of the of the lower caste people, right? During the naming ceremony, it is said to be, right, the, as I told you that in Manusamriti it is written that the Brahmin should have an auspicious name, Kshatriya should have a powerful name, right? Something that donates power. And on the other hand, a Vaishya will have a surname that has something to do with the wealth. And on the other hand, the name of a Shudra will be something that is despisable, right? So it is a kind of a, such was the reason Mangu, Kalia, Kachra, just as I told you, Lagan, there was a famous character of Kachra that he belongs to the Dalit, so such kind of a names were very much prominent there. So this was the reason that there is a very interesting incident behind the naming of Balbir Madhopurya. So his real name was Balbir Chand, right? He even mentioned in the novel that his real name was Balbir Chand, right? But on the other hand, Balbir Chand has the Hindu connotations, right? So this was the reason he said that I have a problem with the Hindu religion, because this religion has given me, he has pushed me to the peripheries. He hasn't given me any kind of identity, voice, and any means of articulation that I can also exist in this world, right? So he said that this religion, even wholeheartedly, it just ignored my existence. So this is the reason that there was a time when he was actually writing a poem during his college days, and it gets published, right? And you know it very well, in the college magazine you really need to write your name, your father's name, sometimes your roll number, and your class, right? And usually your name will be the same name, right? That is actually in their birth certificate, but that is actually there in the college register or in the registrar office, right? So he said that that day I really felt uncomfortable, right? But talking about the Balbir Chand, because he said that I do not feel at ease by using that name, right? Because Balbir Chand has the Hindu connotations, right? So Balbir Chand, he believes that he said that I do not feel comfortable with the Hindu religion. I don't feel at ease in the in the religion. This religion doesn't offer me any kind of a comfort, right? It doesn't offer me any kind of a comfort. I even, you know it very well, in the last days, even they were not even allowed to worship, right? They are not even allowed to enter the temple to do worship, right? The god was totally forbidden. It is a kind of a concept which is totally forbidden, right? You cannot have god, you cannot even have a vision of, you cannot even have a kind of even a vision of god, even in your dreams, right? So he said that's a such kind of identity. He said that it feels like it is forced on you. So this was the reason, right? He said that he is giving the example of peacock, right? So he's talking about a peacock, that as a peacock is uh, he's actually ashamed of his claws. You know it very well, a peacock has a very beautiful body, but on the other hand, the claws of peacock are something which is dirty, right? So he said that I really felt like a peacock, that do I you know I have the poetic creation, I have the imagination, I want to have an identity, but because like the peacock claws, like the peacock is bounded by the claws, he said that I'm also bound to, I'm also bounded to such identity. So this was the reason when he completed his post graduation, and when he actually wrote the autobiography, and whenever he was asked to use a name, so he actually quoted, because he was from Madhopur, so this was the reason he eliminated Chand, right? So Balbir Chand is the in Hindi, and Balbir Chand in the Punjabi. So he eliminated the Chand from his name, and instead of Chand he added Madhopurya, right? Because he is from Madhopur, so he changed his name from Balbir Chand to Balbir Madhopurya, because he believes that that is something which has given him a true identity, right? So he said that Balbir Madhopurya will make more sense to me, as it has given me a meaning, right? Because Balbir is my name, and Madhopurya is what my is the place from where I am. So he said that this is all I have on the name of possession, identity, and belongingness. Rather than, he said that I'm having a Chand, and on the other hand, there might be a caste, there might be a surname that is not going to be it is not going to be cherished or allowed in the society. So this is the reason he wholeheartedly rejected the term Chand and his surname, and instead he opted Madhopuri as his surname, right? So instead of taking a Hindu name, or instead of taking a religion or an identity that is based on the discrimination, he wholeheartedly rejected the Balbir Madhopuriya. But on the other hand, he embraced the term, he embraced the term Balbir Madhopuriya, and rejected the term that is Balbir Chand, right? So this is how Madhopuriya, the name came into existence, and he wrote about Changyaruk and Against the Night, right? I hope this much was clear,
Yes, ma'am.
right? Do you have any question?
Ma'am, when we are writing the answers, can we mention this instance of changing his name?
Yes, you can, because when framing of the answer, it depends upon a lot of things, right? For example, you will have going to have that, what are the autobiographical accounts, right? What are the autobiographical accounts of the Dalit identity, right? What are the incidents that elevated the Dalit identity, Dalit exploitation? So you can quote even this an example, right? Because he doesn't feel at ease, because he is not comfortable in this kind of identity. And further, one more information, that even he changed his, not even he changed his name, even he adopted Adi Dharma, right? Are you familiar with this term, Adi Dharma?
No, ma'am.
Right. So Adi Dharma is basically, it is a basically a new religion started by the Dalits in the Punjab, right? So Adi Dharm, Adi Dharmi, they are also termed as Adi Dharmi. So Adi Dharm, they must have a few connotations of the Sikhism as well, right? So it is a kind of a form of a Sikhism. It is actually their native religion, right? So they rejected the Hindu religion, and on the other hand, they formed their own religion, that is the Adi Dharm. So it was actually by the a prominent figure, that is the Baba Mangu Ram Mugowalia, right? So it was actually like Dr. B.R. Ambedkar is a great figure, a great personality in the Indian politics. The same way, when we talk about the Punjab politics, when we talk about the upliftment of the Dalits, so Baba Mangura Mugowalia was the one. Mugowalia, he was the one who actually raised voice for the rights of the Dalit, who all actually raised voice against their oppression, against their discrimination. So this was the reason, in order to because of his efforts, and because in order to laud his efforts, to applaud his efforts, and because he was working for the interest of the Dalits, they formed a new religion, right? That is Adi Dharma or Adi Dharmi. So they have such kind of connotations of Sikhism, and they outrightly rejected the Hindu Dharma. And on the other hand, so the connotation of Adi Dharma is much more closer to the Sikhism, and they worship Guru Granth Sahib, and there is not a different kind of a Granth, there is not a different kind of a scripture that was written by, they follow Guru Granth Sahib, right? Guru Ravidas was also one of the prophets or gurus they want to quote. They also perform their weddings and other rituals according to the Sikh traditions, and very few of them, they even used to have long hair and turbans, right? So it is actually, you could say, it is a kind of a frame of Sikhism, and but they termed it as Adi Dharma, right? So Sikhism, because in the Sikhism you feel that in the every religion, the same goes with the Christianity. So caste and hierarchies and discrimination is not totally invisible in any of this affair, right? Whenever we are talking about the life, when we are talking about when we're talking about the social life, political life, or any kind of and any aspect of the life, so the discrimination was very much there. So the Dalits of the Punjab, they created a different dharma, they created a native religion, right? A native way of worshipping the god. So that is by Adi Dharma, where they, on the name of god, they just worship Guru Granth Sahib, right? Because Guru Granth Sahib doesn't believe in the idolatry. The Sikhism doesn't believe in the idolatry, that we have to worship a god, a god's idol, or any kind of a human manifestation. So this is the reason they believe, on the name of religion, they believe in the Sikhism, but they do not believe in any god, and they do not believe in any idols, or they do not believe in the Hindu construction of the god. They believe in the constitutional rights and in the interests of the upliftment of the Dalit communities, right? I hope this much is clear. Yes, Adi Dharma still exists. People, Adi Dharma, you could say these are just the Dalits who converted to Sikhism, right? So these are the people who converted to the Sikhism, right? Your voice is not audible. Sushmita, you can write down in the chat box. Do you have any question? I'm reading side by side, right? So Adi Dharma still exists. On the other hand, Adi Dharma, Adi Dharmi is also one of the scheduled caste. When you check, if you have time, you can check the list of the scheduled caste, right? The scheduled caste and tribes that are enlisted by the Constitution of India, by the government of India, right? That is enlisted there, right? So Adi Dharma or Adi Dharmi are one of the caste, right? The people who do not want to use, for example, in the next text, we are going to touch about the Bamas, right? They belong to the Periyars caste, right? So the people who don't want to use their caste name, they can simply opt for the Adi Dharma, right? So they used to term them as Adi Dharma. So they said that we are Adi Dharmi rather than, right? So instead of saying that we belong to this and this caste, we simply say that we are Adi Dharmi and we belong in the Adi Dharma, right? I hope this much is clear, right? So next we'll move to the second novel. So second novel will talk about the Bama, right? Sangati. So first woman, the first novel was talking about the construction of the Dalit, right? So basically a Dalit man talking about his subjective experiences, talking about his personal experiences and personal incidences, talking about, you know, his way of handling with the untouchability, his ideas about the state, modern state, and his religious views, right? And right, an educated man and an educated Dalit man, how he perceives the society, how he perceives the religion, how he perceives the identity, and how he perceives the modern, the idea of a modern state, the democratic state, right? And on the other hand, Bama by Sangati, right? So Sangati is a novel, right? So by Bama. So Bama is actually an anonymous name, right? That was opted by a Dalit woman, right? So the Dalit woman, so instead of, having her full name, so she opted a pseudonym, you could say a pseudonym, or the name uh, which he really wants himself to be acquainted with, right? So Bama by Sangati, right? So in Sangati, Bama is going to, explore the caste dynamics, power dynamics, in pertaining to the subject of Dalit women, right? So how she, as I have already told you in the last lecture, that the Dalit feminism cropped up as a different field in the Dalit literature, because the Dalit women, they feel that we do not, because the concerns of Dalit men are totally different from us, and on the other hand, they also feel that the white, the mainstream feminist, right, the upper caste women, right, he said that the upper caste women, they don't feel connected with them. So this was the reason there was a different arena of Dalit women writing that emerged, right? So Bama is also one of them, right? She raised her voice against the oppression, right, against the oppression of caste and the even the gender as well, right? So she said that we are thrisely oppressed or twicely oppressed. First, we are oppressed by the caste because we belong to the lower caste, and second, she said that we are oppressed by the gender just because we are women, right? So people when can have their any kind of assault, whether it is personal, whether it is religious or mental, right? They will be raped, forcefully dragged, forcefully, beaten, murdered. So anybody, just because we belong to the a gender, women, and just because we belong to a lower caste, right? So it is actually a double oppression of caste and gender. So the whole in the novel, right, she is going to talk about such and such, right? But before starting with the novel, let's start with the Bama, right? So Bama is a pen name of Faustina Mary Fatima Rani, right? So it is, she's actually a Tamil Dalit woman novelist, right? So she belongs to Tamil Nadu and born into a Roman Catholic family in 1958, right? Bama's ancestors were landless labor. So as I told you that these people, same goes with Balbir Madhupuriya and with Bama, they do not have sufficient means at their hand. So this is the reason. So the operation that they suffer, it starts from the very, starting of their life, right? So even when they're child, even when they are children, right, they are suppressed, they are oppressed by the upper caste people, right? So she was living in a Tamil Nadu. So her grandfather converted to Christianity to evade the plight of Dalits at that time, and this was the case most of the Dalits in the community of the Periyars, right? So she belongs to the Periyar communities. I'll come to the Periyar community, but there is one more thing, that Bama received earlier education in the village, and later at the age of 26, she decided Bama, and she decided to write, right? But soon she realized that church was not a free from prejudices, as I have already told you, that if Sikhism guaranteed the same rights to Dalit man, Dalit women, then they must not constructed the Adi Dharma, right? Though they are using the ideals and principles from the Sikhism, but they have made a different distinctions from the Sikhism, right? So the same way with the Bama. So though she was a converted Catholic, though she was a converted Christian, but she felt that churches are also not free from prejudices, and it would take much more time to fulfill his dreams. And on the other hand, after experiencing, after experiences, having first hand direct experiences with the church or with the Roman Catholic people, and their attitude towards the Dalit, because it is actually a bleak reality of India, that even we are talking about religion, the progressive religions like Sikhism, Christianity, Buddhism, the discrimination is still very much there, right? Even we are talking about constitution, democracy, reservation, their upliftment is not there, right? They are still struggling, right? The bleak reality is that we are giving them reservation, right? So people are complaining about their merit, people are complaining that these people came by begging, right? So they are on the lowest merits, right? But you could see that, right? Their lowest merit is actually the example of the failed system of reservation, failed system of the state, failed system of the democracy, right? They tend to have low marks because of the failed system of education, right? Because of the failed efforts of the state government, right? If in the same village, and if in the same school, or even in the same school, right, the two people from the same caste are studying, so there are a lot of things, right? For example, the Bilbir Madhupuriya, the children are of his age are enjoying, they are having their gala time in the summer vacation, but on the other hand, he is doing the, he is doing the laborer work, and on the other hand, he will be, insulted, humiliated, mocked at, right? So such kind of experiences, so there is a different experience, different world, right? So people, it is very easy to, say things on the basis of, few are prejudices, on the basis of few constructions that we have in our mind, but on the other hand, reality is something very different, right? The same way she even mentioned in her autobiography that she will not feel at ease with the church, right? The same way Balbir Madhupuriya, that she felt that he felt that he is not comfortable in the Hindu law, right? In the Hindu society, the same way, even they converted as a Roman Catholic, but she can very much see that there are discrimination in the church as well, right? And they are especially doing nothing for the upliftment of the Dalits, and the Dalits communities and Dalit people are still treated and humiliated. They are still discriminated, and this was the reason she sought to find an independent life. And this is the reason she changed her name, right? She changed her name, and on the other hand, she opted a kind of a pen name, a pseudonym like Bama, right? If she's much more comfortable with the identity of Faustina Mary Fatima Rani, if she's comfortable with the Fatima Mary, if she can if she can connect with the Fatima Rani, she can connect with the church, she can connect with the Roman Catholic faith, then she must not have opted for the Bama, right? So this was the reason that she is not feeling at ease in the religion. The same way, I would like to quote Dr. B.R. Ambedkar's word that I has quoted yesterday, right? He used to raise awareness among the women, right? And there he said that any kind of independence, any kind of a freedom a woman has achieved, any woman has achieved, he should not be, bonded by the religion, right? He said that no religion guarantees the freedom to the woman, and on the other hand, it is the religion that bounds women, right? On the other hand, it is the religion that put the shackles on the woman, right? As I have told you, there are a lot of things, right? You must have heard the terms while reading the feminism, right? The concept of sola shingar, the concept of karva chauth, the concept of the vrat, right? All the vrat, even the savan is going to be started, right? So the whole construction of sola somvar, the whole construction of the worship of the Lord Shiva, right? So that is just to get a good husband, right? The construction of the karva chauth to save the life of the husband, the whole construction of the sola shingar, that by applying sola shingar, you will going to have the image of a, you will going to have a possessed lady, right? A lady that is going to be possessed by a man is no longer to be available for the others, right? So the constructions like that. So this is the reason that people so there is an interweaving of religion, gender, and caste in the writing of Bama, right? Before starting the novel, do you have any question and you want to share any kind of your interpretation, or your any expression that you felt, or you want to ask anything about me, or anything that you about my ideas, or anything you want to like to know about Bama, or anything else, right? I really want to have your view, Shushmita.
Ma'am, actually, I want to know that uh, is it necessary for the exam that we have to read the original text?
See, Shushmita, that is totally on your discretion, right? If you want to read the text, so these texts are actually available on the Amazon, right? Even in the, I was actually going through your notes that whether they have provided the text. So they haven't provided any kind of a text. If you want to read for your pleasure purpose, in order to have a better understanding of the text, in order to, as you were telling me yesterday, that you want to read and you have no idea and inkling of the literature. So if
Yes.
you want to read, so I recommend you, if you have time, if you have leisure time, and so you can read one text, right? So you should read, and you can read at least one text, right? Any one of the one text, right? For example, I'm quoting, if you feel that you feel more connected with Balbir Madhapuria, you can read that. If you feel that you will be more connected with the Bama, you can read that. If you, even tomorrow we were going to talk about the drama, right? Poetry, you have the 2 3 poems that I'm going to share the screen, and tomorrow we will interpret the poems, right? Together we will interpret the poems, we will
Okay,
talk
ma'am.
about the poetry, right? But on the other hand, I recommend you that at least read one text, in order to get the, in order to get the deep understanding of the narrative, right? That how, what is their narrative structure, what kind of a language they are using. You will get to know their first hand experiences. But it is not necessary for the you could say, for the exams, right? But on the other hand, there is no summary, and there is no e-text available online, right?
Yes,
It's
ma'am.
only
That's the
that.
problem, that there is no summary, even no summary.
Yes, this was the problem. So the only thing is that you can quote the, because, but on the other hand, as I have already told you, these two texts which I'm going to mention, right, will be Madhupuri and Bama. So these are the autobiographical narratives. If you are reading about their autobiography, for example, if you are reading about their incidents, personal incidents that are there on the Google, there on the Wikipedia, or any other, sources, it is available. So they are actually writing about those incidents, Uh, in their novel, right? So you can quote few incidents. It is not necessary for you to read, but I would recommend at least read one text, right? You must be reading
Uh,
one text somehow, at the bedtime, or sometime during lunch, or some in the evening. So I would suggest that you should read one text. Yes,
uh,
Sushmita.
Ma'am, when I was searching for summary or the e-text yesterday, I found out that there are some research papers published on this Shangyaruk. So
Okay.
when I will frame the answers in the final exams, can I mention those research papers or
Yes.
in my answer?
Yes, yes, of course. You can mention few interpretations that you actually find, because research paper, just make sure, check the credibility of the research paper, right?
Yes,
Because
ma'am.
nowadays, anything gets published online. It is not at all difficult to publish, on the online engines. But on the other hand, even you can quote few quotes from the text itself, right? So goodreads.com and
Yes,
quotes.com, right? So you can use such kind of a website. So if the whole text is not available, you can read the important quotes. For example, you can search, right, the important quotes of Balbir Madhapuria from Changyaruk. So you must have come across at least 5 to 10 lines, right?
yes,
5 to 10 phrases, 5 to 10 lines, right? So you can use those lines in the text, right? And even, reading about 10 lines, 15 lines, you'll get to know that what actually he's talking about,
yes, ma'am.
right? So, but on the other hand, I would recommend, if you actually feel that this is the text which is very interesting, and which actually, which may be closer to your heart. For example, you can say that I really want to, read the text, I really want to, have the text. Then there, you must go for the reading, because the
Yes,
text is very much important when we are, talking and writing and having a discourse on it, right? So I would
yes, ma'am.
suggest that at least order one book, right, whenever you
Yes, ma'am.
feel that this one is good, right? Because
Yes, ma'am.
it is just because of this only these novels are not available, because these are very recent novels. And the problem with this is that as well, because Sangati was written in the Tamil, it was
Yes,
translated later, right? So it came into the domain of Indian English writing much later. Same goes with the Changyaruk in the original Punjabi version is available, right? It will be available, but you will not be able to understand Punjabi if you are not Punjabi,
yes,
right? So the problem
yes,
is
ma'am.
that, because these are the translations, so this is the reason their summaries or their text are not available. Their summaries will be available in their regional languages,
Yes,
I
ma'am.
believe. If you search Changyaruk's summary in Punjabi, so maybe you will find one or two links. So you can do that. If you will find one or two links, you can simply use Google Translator, right? You
Yes, ma'am.
copy the whole link in the Punjabi and put it on the Google Translator, and it gets converted into English.
Yes,
if
ma'am.
you find somebody like that, right? So I would
Okay.
recommend that. On the same way you can do with the sangati as well, right? So
Yes,
I
ma'am.
believe, right? So you can
Yes, ma'am.
so you can use the different sites for their regional summaries, right? So in this way.
Yes,
So,
ma'am.
so we will be talking about Sangati, right? So, Bama. So, Bama, as I have already told you, that she doesn't feel at ease with the Christian Dalit community, right? Because any religion, right? Somehow, this was the reason that first, the most populated religion is Christianity, second is Islam, and second and third is the no religion, right? The third most populated religion in the world is no religion, the people who do not believe in the religion, right? So you can somehow term them as atheists or communists, right? So these are the people, because in any religion there is the hierarchy, because when we put somebody above us, right, in the form of a guru, in the form of a, you could say, divine, the divine force, the god, the bhagwan, or anything, right, the supreme force. So the hierarchy, the discrimination, the devotion, the such kind of factors come to the play, right? And it enforces a lot of kind of implications, right? So the same way, she tried her hand, and it was first autobiography of a Dalit woman writer, right? So it was the first autobiography of a Dalit woman writer, because earlier there was Dalit literature was actually a domain of the man, right? Dalit man. They were talking about social exclusion. They are not at all talking about their own women, right? Even if you read about Balbir Madhupuriya, he's talking about his inmates, he's talking about his friends, he's talking about his father. There will be hardly a mention of the mother, right? And hardly the mention of the hardships of the females, right? The Dalit women, right? The what kind of hardships they come across, right? So Sangati also has a many voices. Predominantly, it is actually a voice of a Dalit community, right? So there are a lot of eyes, right, of the Dalit women. So the same way in the Balbir Madhupuriya's narration, you will come across a lot of his friends, his inmates, his relatives, like the brother, like the father. But on the other hand, the same goes with the Sangati. So here she is talking about a lot of different female voices, right? The female voices, that somebody will be physically abused, somebody will be beaten, somebody will be murdered. So she is quoting few examples, try to cover the whole area of the oppression and discrimination that actually women came across. And in the most cases, right, you could say that it is actually a story of a violence, right? Both physical and mental, right? Because physical violence is very much common when it comes to the female gender, right? Because the first thing that they imposed on the woman, that you are physically weak, right? Because of, and second, because of the biological differences as well, right? So it is actually a matter of a power to beat a woman, to rape a woman, right? And it is, on the other hand, the woman will be termed as a kind of somebody who is the sufferer. And on the other hand, the people, those who have committed the crime, the criminals, they definitely have an upper say, right? They assert their masculinity by doing such kind of a heinous acts or criminal acts, right? So it is a story of a violence, right? So it can be a physical violence, it can be a mental violence, social prejudices, that how people feel towards Dalit women, and the fossilized traditions, right? There are traditions that are still there in the mind of the people, right? Though even after the independence, we are talking about social justice, even we are talking about freedom, and then we even talking about the equality, right? So our constitution guarantees and promotes equality, but still we believe that we are no longer, we are not at all equal to the other gender, right? And at least the society made you feel that you are not at all equal, right? But before starting this narration, right, I would like to have your views, Shushmita. What do you what do you think, right? Do you really think that equality prevails between the two genders, man and woman, irrespective of caste?
No, ma'am. I don't believe that there is any kind of equality. Yes, we are talking about equality, um, but but I have seen when we talk about equality, sometimes we are think that we are kind of I don't know what the term would be, a widrohi.
Okay,
if,
so
if
rebel,
we
basically.
rebel with the word I was looking for is rebel, that we kind of rebel. I have seen this many times, that when yes, the in the past time, the girl child was not given education. The education was preferred for the male child. And today, everybody, almost everybody prefer to educate their girl child and male child both. But if they have choice, and they are not financially strong, and if they don't have a choice, then they will prefer the male child. But when we talk about about this freedom of speech, that is still not available for the female gender, while it is available to the male gender. So I think, and even in the workplaces, we see that there are the females faces discrimination. And I think in the private sectors it is more, because of so many reasons.
Okay.
So
So
I think, yes, the discrimination is still there. There is no equality that we actually talk about. That is just only in our words. The society has to go way longer to
okay. So
get
what
that
is your
equality.
point? Any solution that you want to pose? Any solution?
Ma'am, it's actually very difficult, to bring the change. First of all, I believe the if we want that equality, the it will start with the family setup. If the family, if a male child is shown equality between he male and female
You are not.
in the ma'am, I'm sorry. I was saying, if
Yes,
a
yes, continue.
if a male if a male kid see a proper equality in a family, then that if that male go outside, in the workplace, or in the markets, or in any way or anywhere, uh, he'll understand the concept. So I think it will start with the family.
Okay, good. That is actually the point, that it should be, start from the very first start, right? We really need to start from the scratch, not just by educating them and giving them a kind of a wealth and a kind of an opportunity and a kind of an employment, right? We cannot simply expect them to be the superwoman, right? But because
Yes,
it is
and
the
the individuality should be celebrated.
Yes, that is very much there, right? So we should not. But on the other hand, there are the same way that you have said, right? It comes. It should start from the very first beginning, right? It should start from the prime age of an individual, right? He should not be treated as a girl or a boy child, right? So for example, the stereotyping, like the pinks, that the stereotyping, the pampering, right? You don't do that, you don't do that, right? Dheere se haso, yahan mat jao, wahan mat jao. So such kind of a thing, such kind of a moral policing, what I believe, that, right? The moral policing that is much and more embedded with the term of the gender female, right? It should be stopped. And on the other hand, all kind of freedom, right? All kind of a freedom, you could say, even it is going to be a, and we would daily need to enhance the quotients, all the quotients of the women, by enhancing their freedom, right? So it is not about the physical freedom, that she can move out freely at 2 at 9, at 2 at night, or it can be a mental freedom, that you can have any kind of your friends and you can go about any time. On the other hand, it should be the financial independence as well, right? And on the other hand, we should even talk them about the emotional independence as well, right? Because I feel that women are a kind of a, you could say, a species, right? Which easily gets manipulated, right? Because from the centuries, that, right, they gets manipulated easily, on the name of religion, on the name of patriarchy, on the name of care, on the name of family. So the quotient of emotional independence, right? We really need to be emotionally independent. So emotional independence, we really don't pay much attention to this aspect, but emotional independence is very much need of the hour. So this was the reason that the girls who are actually earning in lakhs and crores, still they are bounded by the shackles of their in-laws. They are, listening to the daily humiliations, daily insults, on the name of, just because she is the daughter-in-law of that family, or she has to, bow down in the workplace, because the attitude of surveillance and the attitude of, being polite, these such kind of a construction is actually laden on the mind of the woman, right? So the same way we'll talk about Sangati. So Sangati is basically, the title is definitely in the from the Tamil, so Tamil from the Karku, and especially Sangati. Sangati means events, right? So she's in the story, she was actually talking about the events, right? So Sangati means the series of the event, right? So it is actually a saga. It's a kind of a saga of the autobiographical accounts, the autobiographical narratives. So different events, incident, experiences that she was talking about her old mother, right? And even in the incident, she was talking about her own grandmother, right? So her own grandmother was actually a woman, right? So you could say a kind of a, she was a woman that, that is said to be a woman that who witnessed all the childbirth, right? So you know it very well, in the rural area, it is actually a woman, right? An elderly woman, right, who knows all the medical, who do all the medical help of the pregnant woman, right? So she said that her grandmother was that woman, right? Her grandmother was that woman who actually witnessed and helped in all the deliveries of the children of the village. But she said that, I still remember that she was never invited by an upper caste woman, right? She handled deliveries for all the lower caste women, but she never was invited to the upper caste women, because she belongs to a lower caste, right? So look at it, even people, even on the name of health, even on the name of education, right? So such stereotypes are still there, right? So as I have already talking about the same thing, I was quoting yesterday, right? I was quoting the example of a political leader, right? So if a political leader visits the AIMS, right? So AIMS, the biggest hospital of India, right? The medical center of the India, right? The political leader actually first inquires about the caste of the doctor, right? They said that we really don't want to be treated by a doctor, and a doctor who comes on a less merit, because we don't want to, risk our life. So look at it, this mentality was still very much there, right? She was talking about her own grandmother, and I was giving you the example, the present day contemporary example. So same way you feel that the Balbir Madhapuria, the narratives he has used, the same way Sangati was in the Sangati, a few incidents were mentioned, and it was still very much there in the fabric of the social life of India, right? So there she was actually quoting the example of the grandmother, that how she came to know about her own identity, about her own caste. So Periyars, have you ever heard of this castes? Periyar ya Pariha, right? In the commonly language, they were
Yes.
told to be the Pariha. So do you have any knowledge about them, or any?
I have heard the term, but I'm not aware of the term.
Okay, so pariha is basically, it is a Tamil term, parihi, right? Parihi is actually a drum. It's a kind of a drum. So basically, these people were the drummers, right? The parihas, the periyars, so they were the drummers. So even yesterday we talked about this thing as well, right? So the Shudras, right? The Shudras, they were the traditional artisans, right? So they were drummers, they were performers, they were singers, right? They were dancers, right? So they were porters, sculptors. So they are such and such people. So periyars are also one of them, drummers. But with the advent of colonial rule in India, right? When Britishers came to India, what they did is they completely, you could say, they outrightly rejected the traditional and cultural practices, right? They feel that they term these Nach Nagana as, something which is immoral, because it is not mentioned in the church, it is not mentioned in the Christianity, it is not mentioned in their mentality, right? So this was the reason. So all the Shudras, even, right? So their works, their activities, they were imposed a lot of restrictions, and because of the poverty, because of the deprivation, they are also, they pushed to the peripheries, and they became one with the Atishudras, and there was not a distinction between Shudras and Atishudras, and you know gradually, by the time, they also were, you could say, these two terms are changed, are used they intermingled, and they use interchangeably, right? So there was no difference between Shudra and Atishudra, what we have talked about yesterday, Panchama. But on the other hand, because the colonial rule, they outrightly rejected the practices, and even they banned such things, right? The drummers, performers, right? So they cannot even tolerate the sight of a black woman dancing, right? A black woman performing, a black man dancing, a black man enjoying, a black man, beating the drums, right? So such as the, you could say, such was the bleak reality of colonial rule in India. So because these classes, they do not have their work, they do not have they cannot have their professional work here and there. So this was the reason, because of the poverty and deprivation, they also pushed to the peripheries, and they also became untouchables. They also, they are all prone to do the work those the untouchable or the Shudras were doing, right? So the more or less they indulge in that activities, and they got intermingled by the time, right? So the same was the periyars or parihas. They are the drummers, right? The drummers or the performers or such and such caste belongs to this construction, right? So Periyar, and in this particular novel, she's actually talking about her own experiences. So basically, she's talking about the three kind of experiences, right? The thrice oppression we have mentioned already yesterday. So first, she was talking about the first hand oppression at the hands of the Dalit man, and then the second oppression, that is the hands of the upper caste men. And then she is also talking about a contrast between upper caste women and lower caste women, right? So first of all, we'll start with the uh, Dalit women and the Dalit man, right? So according to the incidents that he mentioned in the story, that she is actually talking about the Dalit community, right? Especially the males of the Dalit community. So we have already talked about it yesterday, that how Dalit men are they are also masculine. They are also, they are obsessed with the idea of patriarchy and masculinity, right? So the same way she is talking about, in quoting few incidents, that how they mercilessly they beat their wives, and they took out all their frustrations, right? They are humiliated outside. For example, Balbir Madhopuriya, let's take an example of him. If he gets humiliated outside, right, at the work front, and from any other jat or jagirdar, he comes home and beats his wife, right? So he takes out all his frustration on the Dalit woman, right? Because ultimately they are going to be at the brunt of the humiliation that they faced outside. So same way, Sangati in Bama, she was also talking about that, how the first hand oppression that the Dalit woman faces, that at the hands of their own husbands, right? Their own husbands beats them, abuses them, assaults them, and even took all the things, right? Even they indulge in the gambling. They sold all the utensils. They all sold all their jewelry. They forcefully took all the possession of the woman, right? So whether it is going to be the physical, mental, and the tangible things, whatever she is carrying, right? So the first thing that she comes across, the frustration of the Dalit woman, right? Sorry, Dalit men, right? That they showed on the Dalit woman, right? And then she is talking about the condition of the woman, that she is talking about that it was completely pitiful and humiliating, right? In the field, on the other hand, they have to work hard, they have to toil hard equally to meet the both ends, right? Because just because a Dalit man is earning, that would not be sufficient for a family, right? And on the other hand, you know it very well, they're going to have a lot of children, right? Because of the lack of recreational means in their life, right? The population of India, right, by the population of India is so much, right? The very first reason is that lack of education, right, and lack of the recreational means. So this is the reason you will come across that in the low, in the poverty stricken families, in the lower caste families. So there will not going to be, we have a lot of kids, right? So in order to manage the lot of kids, in order to fulfill their basic needs of food, cloth, and shelter, the couple, right, the Dalit man and Dalit woman, they both have to work hard, and they both have to go outside to come across the workplace, and they have to work hard there. So this was the reason that the Dalit woman, she is not at all now restricted to the four walls of the family. She has to go outside, and she has to earn, she has to make a lot of toil with the Dalit man in the fields, right? So she is talking about such kind of experiences, that how in the fields that they have to escape. On the other hand, in the fields, right, when she is talking about the fields, there she has to escape from the molestations, right? Because ultimately, wherever she is Dalit, wherever she is, whatever she is, ultimately she is a woman, right? So she will be always under the gaze of the you could say, as the Laura Mulva says about the male gaze, right? So she will be always under the male gaze, no matter what kind of a male that person will be. So she is already under that male gaze, right? So she will be a kind of a commodity in front of the male, right? So she said that there we have to come across a lot of molestations, assaults, and even they go their own homes and they have a chance, right, to cook the kanji and they have to lay down. But on the other hand, she said that after whole day's toiling work, they have to come home and they have to do their daily chores as well, right? Because as the the nowadays with the contemporary world, you can see that now husband and wife, they both are sharing their duties. Now even men are participating happily in the kitchen front, right? They are also but earlier the kitchen was ultimately the domain limited to the woman, right? So there Dalit, she was talking about the Dalit woman, that first she has to toil hard in the fields, but then in the other hand, then she comes home, and when she comes home, she has to do all the daily duties, all the daily chores that is actually imposed on him. And then she said that, and even she said that our bodies are drained. She was totally drained from the daily work. Her body is sweating. She doesn't have proper food to drink. She doesn't have a proper, but on the other hand, because the first thing that would be her concern would be the food she cook, whatever she has in her home, that is first of all for the kids, for whom she is earning, and second, she should kept it for the husband, because because he will be coming from the whole day's work, right? So such would be the condition of the Dalit woman, right? Even it is still very much prevalent in our contemporary society, right? Though we have evolved the culture of a dining table where all people will sit and share their food together, but on the other hand, the very common criteria is this: the first of all, the men of the house will eat, right? The first of all, the dinner or lunch or breakfast will be served to the men of the family, right? And after that, women will be survived on the leftovers, right? So this is what she is talking, that though she is working hard, she is actually surviving on the leftovers, right? And on the other hand, it is the men, right? But on the other hand, it is the men who gets themselves filled at home, right? They came home, relish the food, and sometimes even relishing the food, they slaps the woman, they beat their woman, right? And on the saying that, what are you cooking, what are you doing the whole day? So women rarely go to hospitals but deliver their child at home. On the other hand, many women, on the other hand, this is also a very important thing, that the health and hygiene of women, right? Why women are termed to be the physically weak? Do you really think so? Women are physically weak as compared to men? Shushmita, I would like to have your view on that.
Ma'am,
What do you
the physiological structure is definitely different between male and female, but we can't yes if we talk about the strength, male has more strength, but we can't say that women is weak. She's emotionally very strong. Faces a lot of things in her life, and but yes, there psychologically, yes, there is a difference.
Okay, so I would like
Sorry,
to add to.
physiologically.
Okay, I would like to add to your view few more points, right? So the first thing, we will be talking about the male and man and women construction, right? So here you can say that I believe when you read about the Dalit narrative, when you read about the Dalit feminism, and even when you read about the Afro-American women narrative, you feel that they are much more masculine than their men, right? Because the experience is that they are doing both the fronts equally well, right? They are going outside and doing the work in the fields, and on the other hand, they are coming home, getting things done for their children, and even for the man, right? So ultimately, they are the man in the relationship, right? What I believe according to it. And the reason being, the construction of the weak physiological features, what you are talking about, biologically there are just biological difference. What I feel, that there are few biological difference between the a man and a woman, that is actually the male and female, right? Man and women are also the societal it is also the constructions that Simon de Beauvoir quotes, that one is not born as a woman but becomes one, right? So it is all about the becoming of a man and woman when you reel in the society. But on the other hand, there are some biological differences, and the differences between the few organs, right? The few organs that man has and women has a different organs, and that women has and man has not, right? So it is all about the biological differences. And when it comes to the strength, and when it comes to the physiological and other differences, mental differences, I have already told you, right? We have already discussed the point about the emotional independence of the woman, right? Financially, differences are no longer there, because women are going equally on every front, and they are coming out of the shackles, and they are actually conquering every bastions. It is not that women are so simply limited to the profession of teaching. They are managers, they are leaders, right? So they are running the world. So it is not that financially independence was there, financially they are equal. And on the other hand, emotionally, I have already told you, because of the, on the name of tradition, on the name of religion, on the name of, a certain conservative norms and values, she is going to be treated as second class citizen. She is treated to be, she going to have the mentality that she is less superior when it comes to the divine force. But on the other hand, when we talk about the bodily, right, the bodily strength, the main focus and the main problem with the, the strength is that the health and hygiene, right? When we talk
Yes.
about why women are weak in compared to the men, because of the health, right? If a man who is eating 8 rotis at a day, who is having a full bowl of you could say a rice or fruits, he's having toddy, he's having a lot of, other things, right, in his diet, definitely he is going to emerge as more masculine and powerful, right? But on the other hand, a woman, as in the most of the cases, right, they eat very less. And because of the, modernity and the contemporary world, if you can see that, because of the intermittent dieting, the construction of beauty, the hourglass body, right? Because in order to, look attractive, she really wants to, eat, he started eating less, right? So this was the reason, that first of all, the reason is the diet. That if you compare the diet, you will also agree with me that there is definitely going to be a difference between the diet of a man and a woman, right? If a man eats 6 eggs, you are just will be over with the 2 or maximum at the 3 eggs, right? On the other hand, the vegan and the non-vegan, the veg and the non-veg, some definitely man are eating vegetarian, non-vegetarian food, and they are going to, derive a lot of strength from that. But on the other hand, a woman who is a vegan, as a lot of women are going, vegan, and on the other hand, they are, not at all, eating non-veg. So the strength, what the men are actually deriving from the lot of sources, then they are having the protein from a lot of sources. So this was the reason the health was very much there, right? So this was the reason, you can say that, because of the health, right, the men are more health concentrated and women are not. Thus this was the reason that women as a body, right, she is weak comparatively to the men. I hope you are getting my point,
Yes, ma'am.
right? And the second thing, when I'm talking about the hygiene as well, right, on the other hand, even health, even we can include exercising, running, sports as well in the when it comes, we are counting the different aspects of the health, right? There are very few women who are going to, gyms for the actually the construction of their body. And even the construction of a gym, people used to go for the gym for the attraction of the body rather than for the construction of the body. I hope you are able to understand between the construction of the body and attraction of the body, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So
Yes,
the
ma'am.
attraction of the body, they are going for the attraction of the body, not for the construction of the body. So the this was the reason. And on the other hand, a lot of women, they do not do exercise, right? They hardly do any kind of a workout. They hardly, trying to build their muscles. They hardly trying to build their, their body. On the other hand, they are afraid of having a manly structure, of having an
Yes, ma'am.
athletic structure, because they feel that they will be, despised by the men. They feel the men will not be attracted to the masculine woman, to the athletic woman, to the sports woman, right? So this was the reason the sports and the athletic structure was actually discouraged by the most of the female fraternity, right? And exercising, this was the reason. If I really want to become slim, I will definitely go for dieting, and I will not go for workout. I will not go for exercise, right? So this is going to be an easy way out, because I'm actually working on the outwardly structure, right? So I really want to be slim, but on the other hand, the construction between fit is still not there in the minds of the women, right? So this is the reason that women are actually weak, because of the health. And second thing, it is because of the hygiene, right? Because of the hygiene, because the same thing, they are not, taking adequate diet. They are not, doing exercising. They are not doing proper workout. So this was the reason, when they are on their when they are on their menstruation, so the body is, it is naturally to be weak and fragile that times, and a lot of blood, because of the lot of blood loss and a lot of, energy loss. This is also the reason the body is not able to cater with the things. And on the other hand, there are a lot of movies, and there are a lot of, you could say, awareness nowadays going on for the usage of the menstrual pads and the tampons, right? So earlier, you could say that what kind of a hygiene you could even, think about, right? When there was no concept of undergarments even, right? So women do not even have the concept of undergarments, right? Forget about even the sanitary napkins and sanitary pads, right? or the menstrual, the tampons and anything else, right? So they were, so what kind of a hygienic life they would be having, right, during those days. And the proper, not the proper, not care and concerned about the body, so definitely it is going to, decrease their strength. And more, apart from the menstruation, the one more part can be, that is the childbearing, right? They have the capacity to conceive a child, and during the, conception, and to and for the whole of the process till the delivering of the baby, right? So the whole thing takes a toll on the physical and mental health of the woman, right? So the
Yes.
postpartum depression is very much common term used by the feminists nowadays, and even by the doctors, right, when they are talking about the women's psychology, right? Even there are a lot of bodily mental changes, and the same way there are also a lot of hormonal and bodily changes, right? So this was the reason that women are not able to come out of it, because they are not even that much aware of the female, about their fitness and about their bodily care, right? So they usually end up, walking and doing all the things, and whatever the elders are suggesting, whatever the doctors are suggesting, so they are themselves are not aware of the health and hygiene, right? So this is the reason that women are actually weak, comparatively weak to the men, because they are not paying same attention as men are paying to their health and hygiene, right? I hope you get my point.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
hope you will agree with my point. So this is
Yes,
the
ma'am.
reason, in every class, while teaching even feminism, and even while talking to the girl students, I used to, put a lot of emphasis on this point, that you really need to, first of all, even, right, beauty is the second construction. If you are fit, you are ultimately beautiful, right? And on the other hand, beauty is beauty is all about the construction of the male gaze, and in the other's eyes, right? I truly believe that beauty lies in the eyes of beholder. So it is all about the eyes of beholder. It is not something from outside, right? So I used to, put a lot of emphasis on this point, that you really need to be very much careful about your health and hygiene, right? Do not shy away from eating a full bowl of rice, a full bowl of, you could say, fruits, or four rotis or five rotis, have a full mug of lassi, coffee, chai, whatever you would like, whatever you would feel that you would like to have, you would want to, have a healthy body, a healthy structure, right? But on the other hand, don't shy away, that people will judge you if you are eating too much, right? And people will judge you if you are fat, people will judge you if you are too slim, right? And even people will have a lot of problem with the slim bodies as well. You are too slim for a man, you are too slim for a girl, right? So such kind of things are still very much there. Such constructions are actually, you could say, the barriers, right, that that actually hinders the growth and development and upliftment of the woman, right? I hope you are agreeing with me, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Right? So she's
Yes, ma'am.
talking about the same way, Sangati in Bama. She was talking about the fee. First of all, the you could say, her encounter with the Dalit men, right? So she's saying that whatever the Dalit men, they are, they try to pretend masculine, right? Because a person who is victimized somewhere, he is going to assert their power, right? He really want to get rid of that humiliation, insult, and exploitation, right? So that person comes home, and on the other hand, they have to, they have to live the life over leftover, sometimes even after toiling so much in the fields, looking after their children. Sometimes they sleep home, and so without food, right? They sleep home, they sleeps at home without food, without any kind of a, you could say, any kind of a support. And on the other hand, even she mentioned few things, right? Even during the delivery, they don't go to the hospitals, right? They will be just dependent on the few helps that are around in the rural area. And the women there says that they really need, without proper training. So she was actually mentioning few points, that where the people do not, women do not have a proper training, how to work in the fields, how to get things done, how to survive. They just simply have to obey the orders of the upper caste men or the lower caste men. So she said that there was no proper training was given to the Dalit women. So this was the reason that she simply have to be a a servant. She simply has to obey the orders of the Dalit men or the upper caste men, right? So then second thing, she was talking about her encounter and few encounters with the upper caste men. As I have already told you, that in the fields she will be there as a gaze for the Dalit man and Dalit woman, Dalit man and upper caste men. And there she also explains, she quotes few examples, that how she was sexually exploited by the upper caste men. She was actually quoting few examples, and she said that there are upper caste men, they stalk the Dalit women, right? And whenever they want some space. They really need, they really, they got them scot free. And blame automatically comes to the women. As I told you, right, that whatever is happening wrong, wrong in this world to a woman, the ultimately blame will come to you, right? Your clothes are short, why you are moving around in the night, right? Why you are with your male friend, why you are going to clubs, right? Why you are going to fields, you are luring the man, you are attracted the man, right? So such kind of a blame she was mentioning, that any kind of assault, where it is physical or mental, right? So ultimately the blame will come to the women only, right? So but whatever it is, even if she was beaten, people will say you were not working, in an appropriate manner, you were not working in a good manner, you were not working accurately in the field. So she said that whatever the incidents and that, so she was actually, quoting few examples, that one day she, her cousin was actually, crossing the fields and was accosted by somebody, right? So there came somebody, he actually, he, and very very hardly, she knowing that where she is going, how she is going to get free from that man, and by God's grace she escaped from the whole area. So she said that this such kind of incident, such kind of abduction, right? As the abduction is a very common motive, right? Whether you talk about the abduction of Sita or the abduction of Helen, right? The connotations are very much same, right? A woman, right? If a woman is not with the legal, you could say, the legal partner, the possessed man, if she is not there with the possessed man with whom she is liable to, then either she is eloped, right? या तो वो भाग चुकी है, या or she is abducted, या there is somebody who has forcefully taken her, right? So there are no other interpretations. So the same way she is talking about, right? So there she said that this is a very common incident. There are virgin girls at home, right? So they are, sexually assaulted by the upper caste men. Upper caste men, they just assert their masculinity, they just assert their patriarchy, and they just assert their, their caste hierarchies, right? So and on the other hand, they just simply said that there is nobody is going to come and protect them, right? So you could even think about it, right? So on the other hand, a woman, right, who is actually, like we get into the mind of Balbir Madhupuria, the same way I would like to, have your view on that, right? That look at it, if a woman who is actually, suffering such kind of assaults, right, and then you talk about God as a protector, what do you think, that women will agree, and women will, they she will agree to the concept of God as a protector, that yes, there will some God who will come and protect her?
No, ma'am, it will be very difficult to accept the concept of God
Yes.
when she is suffering for no fault of hers.
Yes, definitely. Because first of all, she is actually born in a low income family, right? She doesn't have that
Yes.
mean to flourish in her life. And on the other hand, the caste, right? Second, she's
Yes.
actually born in a, say, lower caste, where she will be always available, whether it is going to be a Dalit man or it is going to be the upper caste man, right? So such way, if we are preaching Lord Krishna as a protector, like the like in Mahabharata, we were talking about, ultimate the protector of the Draupadi, right? So this is going
Yes.
to be a very distinct terms for the, understanding beyond the mindset of the Dalit woman, right? So this was the reason these people, they outrightly rejected the Hindu religion, right? Because they do not feel connected, right? Because of the harrowing experiences they have, right? They said that there is no God there, right? So then she's talking about the Dalit woman, right? So Dalit woman in context of the Dalit upper caste woman, right? So there is an interesting thing, right? So he said that at one time, so she's actually quoting two things. She has offered two interpretations. He said that at one time we are equal, right? So there is no difference between Dalit women and the upper caste women, right? So she said that we are equals because we both are the victims of the patriarchy, right? They suffer ill treatment at the hands of the male, and same way we too suffer at our husbands, right? They are beaten, they are under the possession of their husbands, and same way she said that we are also under the possession of our husbands. So she said that, so there is no, difference between the sense of the class and the position. So they are also the marginalized people. So this is the reason Dr. B.R. Ambedkar also done a lot of things for the upliftment of the women as well, right? So the women of all the castes. And then she was talking about, in the other sense, she was saying on the other hand, they are different from the uh, uh, upper caste women, that when it comes to the lifestyle, right? So he said that no matter uh, the upper caste women, they belong to the good to the good income. They have good income, they have good jewelry, they have good clothes, but they don't have the access to the outer space, right? They cannot move around wearing those jewelry freely in the field and make other people make other women jealous, right? You know it very well, the concept of the clothes and the jewelry that is there for women, for only the woman only, right? They don't want to show the jewelry and clothes to the men, right? The sense of superiority comes when they show it to the woman. I hope you will agree with me,
Yes, ma'am.
right? So the same way she said that this was the reason that she said that though their lifestyle is up, they definitely living a lavish life because they are the ultimately the wives of upper caste men. But on the other hand, she said that they don't have that mobility, right? They are restricted to their domestic space. So in this way, she is saying that the Dalit women, they are much more they are much more liberated. They feel that we are much more free than the upper caste women, because upper caste women is still on the name of custom tradition. They are they are domesticated in the four walls of the family, right? She will be just there for the care and concern. She will be just there as an object, right? A decorative object, a commodity for the upper caste men. But on the other hand, she said that Dalit women are, they are actually liberated. They are actually free, right? They are much more independent than those women. So same way as I have told you, the construction of the, ghar ki seva, pati hi paramatma hai, right? The construction of God, husband as a God, right? That was there to just put women under the domesticity, right? That was just there to put women under the restrictions of the four walls, right? Because they don't want to share the power, right? Because they don't really want to want their women to move out and share the power structure with them, right? The same way she's quoting the example in this way. She said that though we have a small amount in our hands, though we have very small things in our hand, but on the other hand, she said that it is good, right, to have small amount on Sundays, and we have holidays, right? So she said that we have a lot of perks of going outside and doing work and becoming self independent, what upper caste women do not have. She said that we have Sundays off, right? She said that we don't want to go to fields on the Sunday. We have holidays, we have Sundays, but on the other hand, there is no concept of holiday. There is no concept of liberation. There is no concept of resting in the concept in the house, in the housewives of upper caste men, right? So the upper caste the wives of upper caste men, they are definitely, they don't have a time. They don't have, they must have time and money at their disposal, but on the other hand, don't have to strive to earn the livelihood. But on the other hand, they will be domesticated. They will not be liberated as they themselves for the feel, right? So this was how she actually narrated that how the Dalit woman is suffered from, first of all, from the patriarchy that starts at the home, that she has to be at the, at the command of the Dalit men. But on the other hand, then she moves out. The second thing that ultimately lands on him, that is the gender as well, right? Because she belongs to a lower caste, she is actually, she's actually victim of the politics of the power dynamics of caste and gender, right? So this is how she is actually talking about the different experiences and the ideology. I hope this much is clear for today,
Yes, ma'am.
right? So tomorrow we'll start with the poetry, right? I'll present the screen, right? I'll have the 2 3 poems, like Naked Truth with the love, and we'll and we'll interpret these poems tomorrow, right? So please get hold of these 2 novels and the, the structure, the narrative, and how what are the major issues that are mentioned by the, Balbir Madhapuri and the Bama during by their personal experiences, the narrations of, it can be the narrations of oppression, torture, humiliation. But on the other hand, by reading them, you'll definitely feel that in the bleak world, they are actually, raising their voice. They are actually, posing a ray of hope for a lot of people who are actually, deprived of voices. They are actually becoming the voice of the voiceless, right? I hope
Yes, ma'am.
you understand, and we'll meet tomorrow at the same time at 6.
Yes. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, okay. So, yes, sir, this much is over for today, sir.
हाँ ठीक ठीक है मैम, ठीक है।
जी, thank you, sir.
ओके, थैंक यू, थैंक यू।